Have you ever noticed that the loudest person in the room often has the least to say? In a world obsessed with noise, where everyone seems to be shouting to be seen, fighting to be heard, there's something rare, almost forgotten about the person who doesn't compete for attention, but commands it simply by being. That kind of presence, that silent strength, is not born overnight. It's forged. The ancient Stoics understood this long before social media, microphones, or stages. They believed true power doesn't require applause. True mastery doesn't depend on being louder than others. It depends on being louder within. And if you've ever felt drained by the pressure to keep up, to talk more, post more, prove more, you're not alone. But maybe that pressure is exactly what's keeping you from discovering your deeper strength. Because here's the truth. Strength doesn't shout. It listens. It observes. It chooses carefully when to speak and when to stay still. Today, I want to take you into a different kind of power. The kind that doesn't flash or demand anything. The kind that can't be shaken by trends or noise. The kind that speaks without saying a word. Let me tell you about someone I once met. His name was Michael, mid-50s, quiet, always the last to speak in any meeting. You'd barely notice him at first. He didn't dress to impress, never interrupted, rarely shared updates about himself. But when problems came up, everyone turned to him. Not because he asked for it, but because people trusted his presence. He never gave off panic, never rushed to be the hero. But when he finally spoke, his words cut through the fog like a compass in a storm. Calm, precise, unemotional. He didn't dominate the room, he grounded it. That is silent strength. And it's something you and I can build, not by chasing it, but by becoming it. See, the Stoics believe that the most important battles are not the ones fought with swords or speeches, but the ones fought within. Seneca said, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." It means learning to sit with your thoughts instead of reacting to every impulse. It means learning to be still while others rush, to listen, truly listen, when others talk just to be heard. It means becoming the calm in a storm. And in a world starving for attention, the one who doesn't need it becomes a mystery, a force, a presence. But don't mistake this for passivity. Silence isn't weakness, it's discipline. It's choosing your moment, choosing your words, holding your energy like a blade, not to swing around recklessly, but to draw only when needed. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first. Our culture trains us to overshare, to overspeak, to constantly explain who we are. But the Stoic learns to be okay with being misunderstood. Why? Because their validation doesn't come from others. It comes from living with clarity and restraint. So how do you begin? Start by practicing stillness. The next time you're in a group, try not being the first to speak. Observe. Watch not just what people say, but how they say it. Look between the words. You'll be amazed by what people reveal when they think you're just listening. And when you do speak, make your words count. Say less, but mean more. Speak not to impress, but to impact. It's also about consistency, building an inner structure that doesn't shake every time someone disagrees with you, that doesn't collapse when someone disrespects you. Because here's the thing, when you build this silent strength, you stop needing people to like you in order to feel at peace. You stop needing to win arguments to feel worthy. You stop giving away your energy to every distraction. Instead, you become the kind of person who walks into a room and doesn't have to announce anything. Your presence says it all. Let me leave you with one more image. Picture a lighthouse. It doesn't run around the coast yelling, "I'm here, look at me." It simply stands, anchored, quiet, shining steadily no matter the storm. Ships adjust to it, not the other way around. That's what silent strength feels like. That's who you become when you stop performing and start mastering yourself. So if you've ever felt tired of the noise, if you've ever wanted to move through the world with more calm, more clarity, more power, start here. Start with silence. Not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of someone who has nothing to prove and everything to protect. And as Marcus Aurelius wrote, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Don't meet chaos with case. Meet it with stillness. Meet it with control. Let your quiet become your power. Let your restraint become your edge. And if that message resonates with you, if you feel ready to walk that path of inner mastery, like this video, subscribe and comment below. Quiet power. I'd love to know who's walking beside me, quietly but with purpose. Stay steady, stay unseen. Your strength is building. Part 1. Observe more than you speak. The power of silence. In a world where everyone's trying to out-talk each other, what happens when you choose to listen instead? There's a quiet kind of strength, one that doesn't rely on volume or visibility. It doesn't demand attention, it earns it. The Stoics understood this. They believed that power isn't found in how loudly you speak, but in how deeply you see. Let's be honest. Most people speak just to be heard. They fill the air with explanations, declarations, opinions, hoping to shape how others see them. But few ever stop to understand what's really going on beneath the surface. The Stoic doesn't speak to be seen. He observes to understand. Silence, when chosen with intention, becomes a kind of weapon. Not a sword for attack, but a shield that defends your clarity. When you're not constantly trying to prove yourself, you gain the space to truly observe, not just the words, but the motives hiding behind them. Not just the facts, but the emotions shaping them. You begin to see things most people miss. The subtle shifts in tone, the anxious tapping of fingers, the hesitation before a yes. In those moments, silence isn't passive, it's perceptive. It's active awareness. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. That strength begins with choosing silence over impulse, stillness over reaction. Let me tell you a story about someone I used to work with. Her name was Elise. In a room full of executives all pitching ideas, fighting for airtime, Elise would sit back, composed, watchful. She never interrupted. She rarely offered the first opinion. People underestimated her because she wasn't loud. But every time she did speak, the room went silent. Because what she said didn't just repeat what others said louder, it cut to the core of the issue. She saw what everyone else misses because she had listened to what no one else noticed. She didn't win by force. She won by focus. That's what silence gives you. The ability to see the battlefield clearly before making your move. It's a discipline, a restraint, a conscious choice to wait until your words add value, not just noise. There's a saying, speak only when your words are better than silence. The Stoics lived by this. They treated speech like a weapon, something not to be drawn unless it served a clear purpose. And the sharper your awareness, the more precise your speech becomes. But this kind of silence does more than make you effective. It makes you unpredictable. In a world addicted to exposure, the person who doesn't overshare becomes a mystery. And in that mystery, there's power. Because when people don't know what you're thinking, they can't manipulate your thoughts. When they don't know your fears, they can't weaponize them. When they don't know your next move, they can't block it. Every word you speak can be used against you. Every impulsive opinion, every emotional reaction becomes data for others to exploit. But when you move in silence, you retain control. You hold the cards. You protect your depth. And perhaps most importantly, silence gives you space to reflect. You're no longer trapped in a performance. You no longer feel the need to convince anyone of your worth. That's when something powerful starts to happen. You begin to see yourself more clearly, without the pressure to speak, to react, to impress. You start to ask better questions. What am I feeling right now? Why did that comment bother me? What pattern am I repeating? You begin to notice your assumptions. You begin to correct your course before the world even sees the mistake. It's a different way of moving through life. Not slower, but smarter. Not quieter, but deeper. When you observe more than you speak, you stop being part of the noise, and you start mastering the signal. And over time, something profound shifts. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself in every room. You no longer get pulled into every argument. You stop offering your energy to every situation that doesn't deserve it. Instead, your words, when you finally choose to use them, become like lightning, rare, focused, transformative. So ask yourself, in the last week, how often did you speak just to fill the space? How often did you truly listen, not to reply, but to understand? It takes courage to choose silence in a noisy world. But the ones who do, they're the ones shaping the world behind the scenes. Let others talk. Let others rush to be heard. You don't need to shout to be powerful. You just need to see what others miss and speak when it matters. Because the strongest person in the room isn't the one speaking the most. It's the one who knows exactly when not to. Part 2. Let action be your voice. The Stoic Power of Silent Execution. There's a kind of person who doesn't announce their goals, who doesn't explain their every move, who doesn't need to tell the world what they're becoming, because they're too busy becoming it. That kind of person, quiet, steady, relentless, is rare. But in the Stoic world, that's the one who truly holds power. Seneca once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And it's simple, really, because words are cheap, promises are fleeting. But action endures. We live in a time when people are addicted to announcing, big things coming soon. Watch this space. I'm working in silence. But even the sentence, "I'm working in silence," contradicts itself. The Stoic doesn't need to advertise his effort. He doesn't speak of what he'll do. He lets what he has done speak for itself. Think of it this way. When a wolf walks through the forest, it doesn't need to howl to prove it's dangerous. Its presence is felt. Its instincts are sharp. Its steps are measured. The same goes for a river. It doesn't roar about its strength, but day after day, it cuts through rock, not with force, but with persistence. That's the Stoic path. Quiet, consistent, unstoppable. Let me share a story. Two friends, Daniel and Chris, started their fitness journey on the same day. Daniel posted everything: his meal preps, his gym selfies, his progress stats. Every small win was a public celebration. Chris said nothing, no posts, no declarations, just showed up. Every day, no excuses, no fanfare. 3 months go by. Daniel's enthusiasm faded. His post stopped. He felt discouraged when the likes slowed down. Chris, he had transformed quietly, visibly, powerfully. Because here's the truth, when the results are real, they don't need captions. This applies to everything. Your craft, your career, your healing, your habits. When you act without needing to announce it, you conserve energy. You protect your progress from unnecessary eyes, opinions, and expectations. Because every time you declare a goal too soon, you give a piece of it away. You invite pressure, distraction, and the temptation to perform instead of build. But when you work in silence, true silence, you create something so real, so grounded, that when it shows up, no introduction is needed. Years ago, I met a carpenter named Howard. You wouldn't find him on Instagram. No flashy branding, no slogans, just wood, tools, time. He never marketed himself. He didn't need to. Every chair, every table, every beam he built carried his name, not carved into it, but felt through it. People traveled from hours away just to sit at a table he crafted. When I asked him about success, he smiled and said, "Good work doesn't need advertisement. It introduces itself." And I never forgot that. That's what it means to let your actions be your voice. It doesn't mean hiding. It means building something so strong, so rooted in truth, that when it's ready, the world recognizes it on its own. The Stoic knows this. He doesn't rush to be seen. He doesn't post every step of his journey. He doesn't beg for encouragement when the path feels lonely. He just walks it because he knows the applause may never come. And that's okay because the reward isn't attention. The reward is self-respect, the quiet pride of knowing you honored your potential even when no one was watching. This kind of silent consistency, it scares people, not the ones who talk about discipline, but the ones who quietly live it, not the ones who say they'll change, but the ones who disappear, then return unrecognizable, because they did the work when no one believed they would. And the beautiful thing is, when you live this way, something inside you changes. You stop chasing validation. You stop needing permission. You stop asking the world to clap for you, because now you clap for yourself. Quietly, internally, powerfully, you start living for the work itself, not for who's watching. And the irony, that's when people start noticing. Not because you tried to be impressive, but because excellence can't be hidden for long. So if you're in the season of building right now, if you're planting seeds in silence, working in the dark, showing up for yourself, keep going. Don't explain yourself. Don't waste your breath trying to prove you're changing. Just change. Let them see it when it's done. Let them wonder how you did it. Because when they were talking, you were building. And when they were looking for attention, you were looking inward. So let your actions speak. Let your consistency preach. Let your results announce what your words never needed to. The Stoic doesn't need a spotlight. He becomes the fire others gather around, without ever asking to be seen. Part 3. Mastering Detachment. The Stoic Path to True Freedom. Most people live on a leash, and the one holding it is the outcome. They win, they feel worthy, they fail, they fall apart. A single compliment lifts them for days. A single insult ruins their week, and that's exactly why they're easy to manipulate. But the Stoic, he walks a different path. He doesn't chase praise. He doesn't fear loss, because his sense of self doesn't live in the outcome. It lives in the effort. This is what the Stoics called amor fati, to love your fate. Not just to accept what happens, but to embrace it as if you had chosen it yourself. Success, failure, applause, criticism. They're not enemies or allies, they're just events, tools, tests, nothing more. And that mindset is a weapon most people never even learn to wield. Let me ask you something. How often do you change your behavior based on how others react to you? How much of your energy is spent trying to avoid failure or chase approval? If the answer is too much, you're not alone, but you are vulnerable. And the Stoics knew it because the person who needs something, validation, praise, victory, is the easiest to control. Flatter them and you own them. Insult them and they spiral. Their peace lives in someone else's hands. But when you detach, when you stop needing the outcome to feel at peace, you become free. I want you to picture two warriors preparing for battle. One of them, let's call him Adrian, is obsessed with winning. He can't imagine defeat. His mind races with fear. What if he fails? What will people think? What will it say about him? The other, Marcus, focuses solely on his preparation, his training, his mindset. He has no attachment to the result. He simply wants to fight with honor, with presence, with courage. Now tell me, which of them fights with more clarity? Always the one who is free from fear, the one who is not tangled in outcome. That's Marcus. That's the Stoic. This applies far beyond battlefields. A student who studies just to look smart crumbles when they fail. A leader addicted to applause will be destroyed by the first wave of criticism. A lover who clings out of fear will often push the other person away. When your peace is tied to the result, your strength becomes fragile. But when you live with detachment, not carelessness, but calm freedom, you become resilient. Let me share another story. I knew a young entrepreneur once. His name was Ryan. While others were obsessed with chasing investors, pitching for headlines, watching competitors, Ryan focused on creating something useful, something valuable. He didn't care how long it took. He didn't rush for approval. Some years he failed. Some years he succeeded. But his demeanor, always steady, and that made him dangerous. Not in a reckless way, but in a grounded one. He couldn't be baited, he couldn't be shaken, because his identity didn't come from applause. It came from principle. Detachment to him wasn't indifference, it was power. It was discipline. And you can train for this too. It starts with recognizing what belongs to you and what doesn't. Your actions, yours. Your mindset, yours. Your attitude, yours. But people's opinions of you, not yours. The results of your honest effort, not yours. Whether someone claps or criticizes, not yours. So every night ask yourself, not did I win today, but did I live by my values? If the answer is yes, you've already won. When someone insults you, don't retaliate. Let their noise bounce off your silence. When someone challenges your worth, don't defend your ego. Defend your integrity. When someone praises you, accept it with humility, but don't let it feed your identity, because you are not your wins. You are not your losses. You are your effort. You are your consistency. You are your character. And here's what most people never realize. When you stop needing what others need, they can't control you. When they chase status, you stay grounded. When they fear rejection, you move anyway. When they cling to fragile identities, you dissolve into something stronger. And that kind of calm, it rattles people Because while they're exhausted by emotional highs and lows, you remain steady. While they're draining themselves seeking external approval, you're filled by internal clarity. The Stoic doesn't need to win to feel whole. He doesn't need to be seen to feel strong. He doesn't need life to go his way to walk his path with honor. That is real power. So if you want to train this detachment, start today. Practice holding the outcome loosely. Practice doing the right thing, even when no one notices. Practice reflecting every night. Did I act with integrity? Did I stay true to my values? Because over time, that reflection builds resilience. And that resilience builds freedom. You don't need to be untouchable. You just need to be unshaken. And the person who expects nothing, fears nothing, and needs nothing, they've already won before the battle even begins. Part 4. Build an unshakable character. The Stoic foundation of true strength. Real power doesn't come from how loud your voice is. It comes from how steady your soul is. In a world where people bend to pressure, shift with opinions, and collapse at the first sign of hardship, the rarest kind of strength is character that cannot be moved. Not by failure, not by applause, not even by success. And the Stoics knew this. They didn't chase popularity or convenience. They built something far more lasting, a self that could not be bought, shaken, or broken. Because while the world around them changed, they didn't. But here's the part most people don't talk about. Unshakable character isn't born. It's built, brick by brick, in silence, in private, in moments no one will ever clap for, not during the speech, but in the early morning when no one's watching. Not on stage, but in the daily habits you keep when quitting would be easier. We often think strength looks like spotlight moments, big wins, loud victories, but the Stoic sees something else. He knows that real resiliency is forged in solitude, in discipline, in the quiet decisions you make when there's no audience and no reward except self-respect. Let me ask you something. When life falls apart, who are you? When the lights go out, when your plans shatter, when no one is looking, what kind of person shows up? Because that is your real character. I once met a man named Gregory. He had every reason to be bitter. He lost his company in a financial crash. His closest friend betrayed him. He went through cancer treatment without ever making it a public story. And yet, every morning, Gregory rose early. He read philosophy. He wrote down his values. He showed kindness, even to people who didn't deserve it. He never raised his voice, never sought pity, never wore his suffering like a badge. When asked about everything he'd been through, he simply said, "Life trains those it loves, no drama, no resentment, just calm endurance." And over time, even those who once looked down on him came to respect him, not because he demanded it, but because character, true character, commands respect without needing to ask for it. This is the paradox of Stoic strength. The more you build yourself in silence, the louder your presence becomes. Not through words, but through how you move, how you carry hardship, how you stay kind when the world gives you every reason not to be. The Stoic doesn't hold himself to the standards of the world. He holds himself higher, not because he wants praise, but because he refuses to live beneath what he knows he's capable of. While the world tells you to seek pleasure, follow trends, and avoid discomfort, the Stoic whispers something different. Discipline yourself. Read something that strengthens your mind. Write something that sharpens your awareness. Surround yourself with silence, not to feel lonely, but to hear your own soul more clearly. This kind of life isn't glamorous, so you won't get likes for it. You won't be celebrated for it, at least not at first. But over time, the results become visible. Every act of integrity, every moment you chose patience instead of anger, every time you showed up when it would have been easier to quit, all of it lays another brick in the fortress of your character. And one day, without trying, people will notice. They won't know what it is, Katie. They'll just feel something when you walk in the room, a calm they don't have, a steadiness they can't fake, a presence they can't shake. And the best part, you won't need to explain it, because your stillness will say what your pride never had to. Your kindness will speak louder than your ego ever could. Your consistency will do what no announcement ever can. So if you feel like no one sees your quiet effort, keep going. If you're tired of walking the hard path alone, keep going. If you're choosing discipline over comfort, growth over ease, principles over popularity, keep going. You're not behind. You're just building something that can't be rushed. Because at the end of the day, the strongest move you can make isn't to shout louder or stand taller or fight harder. It's to become the kind of person that no storm can shake. You don't need to raise your voice to be powerful. You don't need to prove yourself to earn your place. You don't need to chase validation to know you matter. Because the truth is, in a world that rewards the loud, the one who moves quietly but with discipline, depth, and clarity becomes unforgettable. The strongest people you'll ever meet are not the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who have mastered the art of not reacting, of not needing the spotlight, of letting their calm disturb the chaos around them. That's not weakness. That's presence. That's not hiding. That's control. And in a culture obsessed with speed, noise, and applause, choosing stillness, choosing restraint, choosing self-mastery is a radical act. But it's the act that changes everything. You don't have to be loud to be heard. You don't have to argue to be right. You don't have to announce your growth, because real transformation doesn't need a microphone. It shows up in your actions, in your boundaries, in the way you carry yourself without needing anything from anyone. The Stoics taught us that true victory is internal. The battle is not out there, it's within. And once you win that, no one can take it from you. So if you're walking through life right now with a quiet fire inside you, if you're choosing peace over pride, reflection over reaction, discipline over drama, then stay on that path, even if no one sees it yet. Because when you live with that kind of quiet strength, something powerful begins to shift. The world starts to adjust to you, not the other way around. People feel it in your silence. They sense it in your energy. They don't know exactly what it is, but they know not to underestimate it. Because the one who doesn't need attention to feel whole, the one who doesn't seek approval to act with integrity, the one who keeps showing up with calm and consistency, that person becomes unshakable. Let others chase noise. You build presence. Let others talk. You become the reason the room gets quiet. And if this message speaks to something in you, if you've ever felt like your path is quiet but purposeful, then you're not alone. There's a reason you're drawn to this kind of strength. It's not because it's trendy. It's because it's timeless, and it's yours to claim every time you choose clarity over chaos, every time you choose character over comfort, every time you choose to build, even when no one is watching. So if this resonates with you, if you want to keep walking this uncommon path of quiet power, I invite you to stay connected. Leave a comment below with the words quiet power so I know who's walking beside me. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, not because we chase followers, but because this is a place where silent strength is understood, valued, and cultivated. One steady breath at a time. Keep going. Keep steady. Your silent strength is building something unstoppable.